Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this workshop, Embracing Construction Technology on Site, how technology is transforming construction field operations and project management. One of our goals today is really just to leave you with a clearer understanding of what construction technology looks like right now, some things that you should consider before you begin or you continue your own tech adoption journey. And then what are some of the benefits we're trying to get out of technology? So improving our communication, reducing some of that rework, enhancing safety, and making our job sites more efficient and more enjoyable places to work. So thank you for taking the time to learn with us, and we really hope that you walk away with some tangible ideas for you to implement in your own construction practices or your jobs. So we'll get right into the workshop. For those who are not as familiar with EllisDon, we are a global construction and infrastructure general contractor that's headquartered here in Toronto. We've been in the construction industry for over 75 years. We have 19 offices globally throughout Canada and other offices throughout the regions of the world. And right now, we're doing about $8 billion of annual construction projects. And this is across healthcare, commercial, residential, public spaces, major projects throughout the country. And one of those projects actually includes the West Park Healthcare Center, right in York, which had a Toronto Community Benefits Agreement. So EllisDon, we are very familiar with the TCBN network, the TPCN network and community, and we're very happy to be involved in this workshop today. So a little bit about us. We are part of digital and data engineering. That's one department within EllisDon's departments of work. Not only do we do construction, but we're heavily involved in technology. So a part of our team is that we identify some of the needs of our project teams. We adopt and develop technology solutions for the project staff to use, and then we provide some of that data from those technologies to the project teams. So we help build and develop some of those solutions, but then we also provide them with the data of how things are performing on the site. My name is Cyerra. I'm a research analyst within our group, and I am an engineer by education and by trade. I spent a lot of my early days on site, so I understand some of the challenges, the pace that it's like on site. And now as a researcher, I provide some of those insights to our software development teams. And I'm joined with...
Hi, everyone. My name is Kingsley. I'm a senior consultant technology at EllisDon. Been with the company close to 5 years now. My experience is in project management, but I have a heavily IT background. What we do with project teams across the country with EllisDon is to make sure that they adopt construction technology. We have some of the best builders in the world in North America, but a lot of them are resistant to change and technology. So what we do is to get the best tech tools outside into the company and help them adapt. And we also would really help with the implementation and adoption of the technology. So we don't just get the best tool in the market. We try to work with them. A lot of handholding sometimes is involved, but what we do really is having an in-house, on-demand consulting team that helps the project teams with improving technology adoption across the company. So together, what we want to do today is to share our experience with you, talk about some of the real world tools that exist in the market, and see how we can help you improve and adopt and be more receptive to technology on site.
So a little outline of what we have planned for today. We've broken up this afternoon into 3 main sessions. The first session, we will give a bit of EllisDon, so ED's approach to construction technology, a bit of an introduction of what are the examples of different technologies, just in case there are people in this room who are at zero and unfamiliar at all, but we recognize that some of you might already have some experience, but just so that everyone starts on a level playing field. We'll have our first break, and then we will have a guest from one of our partner construction tools, CrewScope. He'll be joining us to have a bit of a discussion, highlight his actual tool, and talk about how the benefits that he has been able to see in the construction sector. Then we'll take a second break and get into session 3, which will be more of an interactive discussion activity about some of those specific barriers that we face to adopting technology, evaluating some of the return on investments or what you should be considering, and then thinking about data and security concerns. So that is a bit about us and what we are planning to present throughout this afternoon. We wanted to take a moment just to understand a little bit who is in the room. Give me 1 second. If you can scan the QR code with your phones and answer the questions. 1 second. Give me 1 second. So we have one skilled trades person, a general contractor, some people in admin and coordination, one other.
That's me. I should have shifted to 3.
To 3? Oh, admin and coordination. Okay. The other. Do you mind sharing aloud what your role is?
This one. Coordinator, commissioning coordinator.
Commissioning coordinator. Okay. Hey. All right. It's good for us to have an idea of who is in the room, and then especially as we get into our discussions and what we're thinking about, we know what roles to tailor some of those stories to. Okay, so we'll get into what we really mean by construction technology. You'll hear us interchangeably say the term ConTech, just short for construction technology, and what these are. And before we get into what these are, we also want to know some of the contact tools that you're familiar with, that you might currently be using, what you have seen, what you have used. Okay, so project management platform, measuring laser, project management software, BIM, CAD and Gantt charts, Procore, Zootech, and AConnex. Okay. You're familiar with these ones, Phil?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's so many construction tech tools on the market. There are tons that we haven't heard of that we're also getting exposure to. And as you're exploring your technology journey, I imagine that you will be coming across other tools. So it's good to get an idea of what type of tools that we are already exposed to. So what are these construction technologies? These are the digital systems used to plan, build, and manage our construction projects more efficiently. What these tools are supposed to provide is transforming those paper-based processes that might have been a little bit more reactive into a more data-driven and proactive ecosystem. So we have 2 main categories of those construction technologies. We have the software that we're primarily using for planning, team collaboration, project management. Usually these software tools we're only accessing on a desktop or a mobile device like a phone or iPad. And then we have the software-enabled hardware, things that might be either automatically moving or remote controlled paired with a software tool. So these are usually used for capturing field data, automating and executing those field tasks, and augmenting human tasks for safety. So I'll get into a few examples of some of the ones that we're currently using within those categories. So the first one is financial billing and invoicing. We have environments where you're typically used to handwritten tickets, handwritten fill, or invoices. For our subcontractors, we actually developed a tool to help them submit some of those invoicing digitally in order to increase the time, to reduce the time that it takes to pay them. So with this particular solution, we decided to build our own because we are primarily working with subcontractors to do the majority of our work. Then there's scheduling, logistics, and resource planning. So if any of you have ever been involved in a a pull plan session on the site where you're using your sticky notes to put up your planning for the next 2-3 weeks. There are technology tools such as Touch Plan that enables you to transfer that same information that you might be doing manually on stickies into a more interactive platform.
Yeah. So you're familiar with pool planning. If you're not, it's a last planner system where everyone is in a room like this with sticky notes on the board. So what we've tried to do is to digitize that process so that, like, if you're a construction manager and you're overseeing multiple projects and you're like in a remote location, you can have that on a computer instead of using the sticky notes that could be lost in some instances.
The other category that you might want to use it is for document management for contracts, RFIs, changes, etc. So traditionally, you might get a PDF document of your construction agreement, your contract with either the general contractor or the developer or the client. But with that contract, it can be lengths of pages, fine print. You want to be able to identify what are some of the risks that are associated, what are some risks that you might not even be thinking about that it has typically come up with all these projects. Using a tool like Provision, for example, allows you to upload your contract, and using AI or other historical data identifies some of the high risk issues, high flag issues that might come up in that product.
Yeah. So as a general contractor, we manage risk all the time, right? So if you own your own company or you work for any other construction company, sometimes we have hundreds and hundreds of pages. And in some instances, you have to pay your lawyers to comb through all those pages or look through those contracts. We're now having AI tools that can comb through those documents and highlight specific construction-related risk. We're not talking about ChatGPT here. We're talking about tools that are specifically built for construction to manage those risks, to pinpoint the exact places you need to look at and pay attention to.
So I had a question. These tools, they are launched by the app or used by app?
Sorry, say that again.
These tools, are they using the app?
AI, are they using?
Yeah, they're using AI. So like AI would look at specific risk related to your business. So if you're dealing with a civil project, for example, it will look at specific like penalties as regards to like being, if you're late or if you delay on projects, what are the penalties? It will help you highlight your risk so you can focus on maybe the critical part, for example, and know exactly what to do to maybe get incentives or to avoid penalties.
The other category of software tools are for field reporting and punch lists. So one example we have here is FieldWire, which we're actually going to go into a little bit more of a detailed demo later today. But with this tool, it's a combination of using your mobile device and desktop to possibly track deficiencies on site, track progress on site, and have an active log of the photos and the field activities that has happened over several weeks.
No,
We'll get into it later. Okay. And then another category of those software tools are virtual design and construction tools and BIM modeling. So someone earlier mentioned that they use BIM and AutoCAD and the Autodesk suite of tools. So that is one example of the software that allows you to essentially replicate your project in a virtual environment, identify potential clashes, help to time construction, or get a count of all of the volumes and the quantities of materials that you might need for that building. And then you also have other tools like CM Builder, which allows you to, again, replicate the site virtually, plan logistics, plan where a crane or a delivery should come on the site, just to help with that organization and planning early on in the project. And these are both tools that we are using at EllisDon. Then getting into some of the hardware tools, there's drones for reality capture. For some projects, we're using drones to do aerial scans for topography, estimate cut and fill volumes for areas, especially in rural or large project sites. These types of hardware tools are essential for capturing some of the information that might take days or weeks to do with just humans or individuals. We have automated and human-controlled robots and equipment. This particular one I have shown here is more for imagery purposes. We're not using this particular one on site, but just to get you an idea of what things are coming in the market right now in terms of tech tools. So having some of these remote robot devices going to do site activities, maybe in confined environments that might be a little bit more dangerous for an individual worker to go, or just helping with efficiency and getting things done faster. Then we have the area of exoskeletons and wearables, things that we are augmenting in our uniform, in our site PPE to help us with some of that fatigue, strain, if you're repeating activities, lifting materials, any of that tedious work or repetitive tasks, having augmented tools that help to relieve some of that stress and ultimately provide more safety on site. And then the last example with hardware is mounted sensors and other devices that might be mounted to your hard hat to help identify high temperature working environments. It might help to sense if you're in proximity to something behind you in an unsafe environment. These type of augmented tools to help increase safety, worker safety on site. So just with that, I would say the goal of this tech is obviously not to replace workers, but in all these activities, it's to support them, provide insights that make the job safer, faster, and more precise.
Okay.
Okay. Good man. Okay. As a large general contractor, we manage thousands of projects across the country. We have a broad ecosystem, right? So what we want to do is to adopt technology that covers all our project management, like field tracking, design coordination, quality assurance, and all aspects of the business. Think about like people, process. We have software that does everything. So we're beginning this workshop to talk about the tools that we use, but we also want to help you think through your own technology. We have different people here. Maybe there's only one GC and you're not really adopting tech and you're still using a spreadsheet, for example. We want to let you understand maybe one of the strategies that we use when it comes to adopting technology. So we have a system where we build in some instances, or and I think Cyerra will talk about Gate 3 in a few minutes, but in some instances, it makes sense to build your own system. So for you, it might be just using a spreadsheet, a complicated one that works for you. And in some instances, what you have to buy, right? If your system has gone past a point where, as a company, you can't build your tool anymore in Excel spreadsheet, you have to buy. For a big GC like EllisDon, most times we don't have the resources to build. For things that we cannot build, it makes sense to either buy or partner. And we have some instances where we look at like the return on investment, or we do like an analysis of whether if we build and we buy, what it costs and what we're getting in return. So it's a cost benefit analysis where we look at when does it make sense to build versus buy or just partner. So by partnering, we mean like we look at a company in the market that might benefit us, and we have like mutual partnership where as a big GC, we use our own influence to help them grow. We give them feedback. We help them with, in some instances, by buying the software, we're actually giving them money up front as well for them to be able to grow. And we accelerate that progress for them to develop a construction tool. So we've identified 5 main domains where if we're adopting technology, we think that all the tools are going to fall into those domains. One of the most important ones is productivity and efficiency. As a big GC, sometimes you hear about all these billions of dollars, but the margins are actually pretty small, right? We're talking 3-4% on most building contracts. So it's very important for us to be as efficient and productive as possible with our projects. That way we can get up to those margins, right? So the software that we adopt, we're trying to look at it. Does it save time? Does it help us reduce error and maximize our people on site? The second side is the environmental and sustainability aspect. as a very big company too, we want to care about the environment, but also care about our reputation. So we have to deploy technology that can help with the environment and also help the sustainability aspect of things. Our people are also very important to us. So health and safety is a big part of what we do. We invest in technology that would help you work safer on site, but also help you produce a safer environment and report health and safety incidents promptly on site. We also have talked about the contract and legal compliance aspect of it. How do we manage our contracts? How do we make sure that we protect ourselves? And that's something we're going to talk about too. How do you protect yourself when you're on site, both as a worker on site and as a as a subcontractor working for a big GC like EllisDon too, right? So we talked about quality assurance, and we'll do a demo towards the end. So like I said, in most instances, when we deploy these tools, we deploy them as a pilot. So we can try them on a small project sometimes to see how it works, and we can analyze the return on investment or to validate if the requirements are actually met. And for you, it might just be buying a trial software. It might be 1 or 3 months because you obviously want to see that the tool that you're using for your company or for your own yourself as a worker benefits and improves your work greatly before you commit to any long-term contract, right?
So I want to get to it. So before we as we set up for this field-wide demo, does anyone have any questions on what we've talked about so far?
Yes. So, when you send documents to sub-trades or subcontractors for bidding, for pricing, what format do you send your documents in?
I think it depends on what the document is. So if this is a sub-trade that we're already in agreement with, they have won the award for this contract, things related to the actual project. So those RFIs, site instructions, change codes, all of those documents. For us, we use a mix of systems. So for our core project management activities, so we're talking about the monthly billing and financial.
Let's talk about pre-con.
Pre-con?
Yeah. Let's talk about the bidding phase, where you ask for tendering process and you ask the.
So you're asking, you're asking you to submit quotes?
Yes.
Okay. So what are you talking about, the document format or?
Yeah, the document format or the drawings format. So I'll cut the question. I'll more specify it. So you develop all the drawings in, let's say, Autodesk BIM.
Yeah.
It has advantages, I'm sure. But when you send out the documents to the subcontractors or sub-trades for pricing and quoting, you send it as PDF. So all the advantages that the software gives you is curtailed only to that point, and the subcontractor has to start afresh. So this is, I would say, that's the reason why I asked if the GCs are comfortable in sharing their documents in, let's say, with the BIM software. The industry will migrate from the rudimentary PDF to the BIM software and give you more results, more accurate results.
Yeah, I mean, it depends really. Like sometimes we pay for licenses for some of these tools. So you're suggesting that the GC gives you the license pre-contract?
Just as sub-trades purchase their own licenses, they purchase their own licenses. It's just that the file type is compactable.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And I think it's an industry problem. Not every GC uses the same type of software, right? Like, so it depends on what the company you're working with uses and what you're using too. But I agree with your point.
Yeah. So this is project management softwares can be different. But when you develop designs, it is more often than not, it is Autodesk only.
Yeah.
Or any, be it any BIM software. But the moment you send out documents in PDF format, all the advantages that this software or the platform has to offer remains limited only till the GC and not trust.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see that. I think that is one of those terms that has to be negotiated or voiced upfront during that bidding process. And looking at our practices internally, okay, what information are we comfortable, especially pre-contract award sharing? Sometimes it is limited to depending on the rules of the client, the scope of work, limited to just PDF documents before something is actually awarded, and determining early on, okay, what if you as a subcontractor can provide better pricing if you have the actual file to work with, communicating that very early on in that bidding process.
Does it help? All the subcontractors are interested more in bagging the project, in pricing it, in bending backwards, and let's say adopting to newer technologies, same as the GC, rather than fighting on these boats. But as someone who's a coordinator, it is pretty apparent that if the software platforms are the same, the turnaround time will be very quicker, efficient, and more accurate.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I don't know that if you ask your GC to give you an ACC, like in format of like ACC, they would say no.
There's no question. They just send it. It's a one-way communication. Then
I see what you meant. Yeah, okay. Again, I think that's the same thing with when we use it's an industry problem, because sometimes they export that data from ACC and then they send that data from a different platform, and the PDF makes the most sense when they do it. And they're just asking for you to respond to them via email, maybe. So it's a PDF thing. I understand what you're saying. It needs to change that, and I agree with you.
And second question, all these plugins, I would say, if let's say, may I ask you, what project management platform does EllisDon use?
So for our core project management, we use an internally developed tool. So it was one of those instances where we decided that the out-of-box tools that were available on the market, we would have to customize too much to meet our needs. So for us, the investment was worth it to develop a team to build our own technology tool.
But what you find on the market right now in comparison to that is Procore.
Procore, Econex, Reg. We have quite a few of them. All these have these plugins inbuilt in them.
You mean plugins by APIs, you mean?
And the integrations and the...
So suppose if I have to create a punch list, I do not go to another proprietary software called Fieldware. I do not go to another proprietary software called Taggins or whatever. I just have the same platform. I access through my phone, and this is the most handy. I could keep on doing a round of the construction site and keep on populating my punch list. So that's easier.
So what you're describing is, for example, in Procore, they have an all-in-one system.
Yeah, even it's even Rent.
Okay, but for strategy, EllisDon as a company, we thought about owning our own data. The companies you've just described, they're software companies and they're profit companies. They can do whatever they want to do with your data when you have a long-term contract with them. When we have our own proprietary system that was built in-house, and Cyerra as part of that team, we do have some limitations when it comes to having an all-in-one system. So we use multiple systems in some instances. And that with that comes some challenges as well.
We'll take our first break at this time. So 10 or 15 minutes. 10 minutes? Okay. 10 minutes. So it's 1:55. We'll be ready for 2:05.